In this video, I'll be going over the details on how to work with data in the taxon and matrix panels in Phenex. When you first open an XML file in Phenex, you'll see that the taxon names are displayed in the publication taxon column, which is free text. The matrix is seen in the matrix panel here. The names listed in the publication taxon field are free text, and they reflect the names that were actually used in the publication and the names that are in the matrix that you imported from Mesquite. And the first task that you'll do when you first open up a file is to assign valid taxon names from the vertebrate taxonomy ontology to these publication names. So to do that, you'll copy the publication name and paste it into the valid taxon field, and you'll see that this field is ontology enabled, and so it auto-completes to this synonym for this species. And when you click on this, it'll update to the valid name that's in the VTO. So here you'll see the synonym, and up here the valid taxon name. You'll do this for the entire list of species, copy from the publication column to the valid taxon column, and so on down the line. Now, in some cases, the VTO won't contain the taxon name you need. For example, there could be a newly named species that just hasn't been added yet to the VTO. In other cases, such as here with this last taxon, there may be a taxon that was uncertainly identified by the author. So in this case, it's Compsaraia species A. And this name, of course, won't be in the VTO, and so what you can do is request it using the ontology request broker. And you can access that up here in the menu, clicking on orb and then request new term, and filling out the fields that you see in the pop-up box. So the preferred name here is Compsaraia species A, and we also include in the name the author and year, Smith 2012. This is so that we know from where this taxon name originated. The parent is the genus here, and for taxa, you don't need to fill in the description. You can add synonyms if you know of any, and then add your contact email. So that request gets added to a temporary request ontology, and the name immediately becomes available for you to complete the annotation. Once this request is fulfilled and the taxon added to the VTO, Phenex will then automatically update the provisional term here with the permanent term that comes from the ontology. So this example that I showed here is relatively straightforward in the sense that the author here coded the characters directly to the species that were examined in the paper. So these matrices can be opened up in Phenex and the valid taxon chosen just as we did. But there may be other cases where an author may list higher level taxa in the matrix rather than the species that they actually examined in their specimen list. And an example here, we can switch over to Mesquite, shows a list of species, and the last one is the genus Gymnotus. And in this case, let's say that the author actually examined 2 species of Gymnotus. In this case, what we need to do is to expand the matrix to include 2 rows for the 2 species that the author examined. This sort of editing of the matrix we need to do in Mesquite before we open the file in Phenex, because you can't add additional rows to the matrix within Phenex. So we'll do that here in Mesquite. So first we'll add an additional taxon to the matrix. That'll give us a blank row. And then we'll copy the matrix coding for this last row. Select it, copy, and then paste it into the new row. And you can ignore this pop-up warning. it will go ahead and paste the coding so that you have two duplicate rows of coding for these two species, and then you'll update the names to the names that were actually used in the publication. So, whoops, we will say that this species is Gymnotus curupira, and here Gymnotus cylindricus. And now we will export this file, save it, and export as an XML that we can then open up in Phenex. Do that. Phenex, open up that file. So here we can see those two species that we added in Mesquite now show up here in Phenex. And the final thing to do is to record the actual taxa used, the taxon name used in the matrix for these two species. So this was labeled as Gymnotus, and that was labeled as Gymnotus. This preserves the original coding so that a user can go back and understand that we coded this for the species because they were listed in their specimens examined. But the matrix had coded these two as Gymnotus. So that's an overview of using the taxon panel in Phenex.